So Kristen and I found a bunch of vintage lenses and we decided to go to New York and test them doing some street photography. Okay, so lens number one is this vintage Nikon 18mm f4 lens. This is kind of an expensive lens actually. It was one of the first Nikon wide primes, and I think this will run you about $500 if you buy it used. It was really expensive when it came out too. This is probably the one I'm most excited to try. Okay. So we're gonna have to control the aperture manually with all these lenses, but I'm excited to see. Let's just get kind of like a bit of a basic picture of this part of the city here. It'd be nice, you know what'd be even nicer is to get some like movement in this. So let me try and like get my shutter down to 1/30, and we'll stop this down to f/22. And we're gonna wait till somebody runs by. But looking at the lens, I'm just like punching in and like looking at the sharpness and everything. It looks pretty nice, I would say. Okay, so I'm gonna go shoot through these trees at f/22 and try and get like some cool sun stars. The sun's really high in the sky. I think that could look nice. Let's see, let's stop down a little bit more. This will also be a good little test to see about flaring on this lens. Oh yeah, that's cool. So unlike that mirror, the distortion seems pretty minimal on this lens, which I'm liking. That was a cool shot actually. Like how close it'll focus. And like the bokeh on this, I'd kind of like to see. I don't know if this is the flower to do it with though. Oh, maybe it is. So let's see. Minimum focusing here, 0.3 meters. Yeah, put the flower back for me, thank you. Okay, so I don't really know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I was really expecting this to be my favorite lens that we were going to test today, and I really think that it's going to be. It's super sharp, it's super fun to use. I love wide angle stuff, so I think this is a super, super cool lens. Like, I would actually use this quite often because it's super, super good optically. The manual focusing is great, the click aperture is great, not much distortion, super sharp. Really nice lens. I wonder what it would look like just to do like a test like vlogging clip. So this is me vlogging on like a 40-year-old lens. Okay, so next is the longest lens that we're going to be testing today. It is a 200mm f4 Nikon macro lens. This thing is huge. I'm not unbalanced at all, right? So this lens is another interesting one. I think it's going to be the hardest to get examples for. It's got a lens collar, and another interesting thing, it goes from f4 all the way to f32. So that's a little bit different for this lens. We're going to just try and get close to some stuff, get some macro shots, see about the bokeh. Let's do it. So here we are, just shooting this sign just to see how creamy we can get that. We're so close to it at 200mm. Creamy. Let me take a picture of you, Kristen, with the camera. Stand right there for me, and you can film me. I'm just gonna take a picture of you for the sake of doing it. With it being so shallow, you're going to have to really work on that manual focus, but it actually looks great. Look at this. Okay, yeah, this is a perfect test of the bokeh here. We've got this plant in this restaurant. And we got some Christmas lights behind it, which it looks actually really great. Okay, so I really want to put this minimum focusing distance to the test and just get as close as I can to one of these little spiky things. I'm really having to crank that shutter to get a stable shot. So final impressions, I actually really enjoyed using this one. It's super cool, like you can get super close. It's really big though, so it makes this camera a little unbalanced. It does have this tripod collar, which is cool. but I actually thought this one was kind of neat. So in the vein of testing vintage lenses, this is the SLR Magic 35 f1.2 Cine lens that I just purchased. It kind of has a vintage feel, so I just wanted to kind of throw it in there and show what kind of a cheap, modern, vintage style lens would feel like. So let's see how it does. So with a lens like this, you buy it to shoot wide open with. So we are gonna shoot all of this at f1.2. So one thing we're gonna notice is that it's a very imperfect lens and we're gonna get a lot of vignetting. Let me just take a picture of you. So we're gonna get very heavy vignetting and razor thin depth of field. So it's gonna be kind of tough to really hit your focus every time if you're running and gunning. So I might not recommend always shooting at 1.2, but just for the sake of this, we're gonna show this lens with all of its flaws. So this lens, I'm really loving it for video. It's super fun to use for video. For stills, I think it's a little bit tricky, especially if you're really running and gunning. But I mean, if you really want that 1.2, it's an affordable option.
So I'm gonna be focusing in on people from like a distance. So I'm gonna get this guy across the street watering the concrete. Okay, let's try to get a bunch of bokeh like Austin said. Let's get him focused. I have to step really far back for this. Focus is so slow, it's kind of irritating. I think this isn't like the ideal situation to be using the lens. I would prefer to like take it on a photo shoot where I had a lot of time, but I think it would be a really, really good portrait lens. I like the blur in the background on that last photo I took of you. I'm most excited to use this lens because in this neighborhood, I was really excited about taking some street photography. This is a wide lens. It's more for general use, not just portraits. It's not tight. And there's not really distortion from what I see so far. Okay, so for some reason, I want to take a picture of this truck. So let me lean over. Let me get my exposure in. So I'm going to try to get the reflection. Can I take a picture of your dog really quick? Hey, bud. I like this lens. It's only the second one I tested out, but it's my favorite so far. Oh! Whoa. Whoa, this is cool. Let me fix my exposure though. Yeah, that is cool.
That is really cool. No, the perspective, but it helps
it's like
the perspective.
Super, oh my gosh.
The final lens we tested was the Minolta Rokkor 50mm f1.7. This lens was pretty good, but I noticed it had a few flaws and the pictures looked just so-so. The bokeh was really nice though. I think this was a really cool experience. My personally favorite lens was the Nikon 18 f4. That thing was so cool. It was super, super crisp. The problem is it's just a little expensive if you don't already own it. Like, I don't know if I'd go out and spend $500 on it, especially when I have this 16-35 Zeiss. But in general, it's super fun to use these lenses that have some character. Like, you know, Kristen was using a tilt shift lens and it's got scratches on it and like the aperture doesn't move past 2.8, but like, I don't know, I think it has some character and it makes your stuff look pretty cool.
Agreed.
Yeah. Anyways, that's it.